Checkered flag is out. Jett Lawrence back on top in Supercross. Haiden Deegan wins. Anaheim 2.
You don't want to piss me off because I come out swinging.
What up, everybody? You know what time it is. It's time for Title 24, presented by NBC Sports. Thanks to our sponsors, United Motorsports, Boxo, Quadlock, and Dunlop. Thank you all very much. We got an awesome show today. I'm really excited. There's a lot of drama, a great racetrack in Anaheim. Of course, we're going to talk and break down the Deegan and Juju little battle that we got forming, which is a lot of fun. I think it makes for great racing, great storylines for sure. We're going to talk about Jett's win, a whole bunch of stuff. Break it down like we always do, but just some really good stuff. Of course, we got the Quadlock question of the week coming at you later on in the show. Got the Motorsports on NBC's community poll that we're going to do. That's a lot of fun. But before we get into all of it, dude, I am bumming that I couldn't get to the live show. Really sucks. Couldn't control the weather here, dude. I haven't seen anything like this ever in Tallahassee. Supposedly it rained, it snowed here like this back in 1989 is what they were saying. But I moved up here in 91. So obviously, I missed the 89 deal. However, it was absolutely gnarly. And the thing that was so crazy, RV, is like it snowed all of Monday night. I think it was Monday night. And so everything was basically shut down, right? Schools were canceled, grocery stores were closed, basically everything. But it got really icy. Yeah. And you could tell, like, it was so bizarre because other than there being ice on the roads, the sun was shining. It was just super cold. It was bizarre. But so bum to our partners, bum for you guys, RV. Thanks for Dunge coming in, and of course Steve Mathis from Pulp for subbing. Appreciate you guys. Great job. Sounded awesome. How was it?
It was good. Yeah, it was awesome. Dunlop did a great job hosting. They actually just kind of built out this, call it, meeting room with a bunch of memorabilia in it. There's some moto helmets, some past champions helmets, some number one plates. Also from the four-wheel side, it's a little museum style of room that they had. So it was really cool to be able to them host it there. And, they did a great job. So we'll see what's to come if we end up doing it there again or, moving it around. We'll see. But thanks to Mike Buckley and all the personnel over at Dunlop for hosting Title 24's second live show ever. And it was good. It was a great show. Steve also, Dunge. Did
Steve rough you up or no?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. It was always good. It's always good banter back and forth with Steve. And I've always helped him out with, the Pulp MX show way before we ever had Title 24. And I said, hey man, I need you to do me a solid. RC snowed in, as you know, Tallahassee, no snow plows, no de-ice equipment.
Dude.
Get your to Rancho Cucamonga Dunlop headquarters on, Thursday. So he did. So thank you for that, Steve.
Well, but you were on his show on Friday.
Right? Yep. We did a little, and so his show was actually Ricky, where we did our last year's show. So 2 miles down the road. Yeah, he moved in on us, so we're gonna have to talk to Richie about that.
Dude. Which side is Rich on? Rich Lane. What's going on, dude?
I know, bro.
Oh man. All right. Well, that was good. I'm glad it went well. Moving on, United Motorsports moment of the night. We knew it was just around the corner. If you haven't checked out United Motorsports, check them out, unitedmotorsports.com. Dude, follow them on Instagram, Big Ray and company. They do a great job. They have some fun posts, but it definitely has to be Jett Lawrence. There's a lot going on. He's struggling with the bike at the beginning of the season and then some other stuff going on. But nevertheless, dude, I want to hear what you have to say. And my only, I would say, advice that I would give, and I think I understand why he does this, but I think that it would be helpful for him, RV, to maybe pick up the intensity a little earlier. Outside of that, what did you think of his ride, dude?
It was obviously, as we all saw, we got a little bit of onshore flow, got a little bit of rain. It actually rained, throughout yesterday here in California. So, But for that main event, yeah, it made the track a little bit tricky. I would totally agree with you. That was one of the things that I watched. He's being smart. He's letting the race come to him. But I feel like that if he's not careful, the races where he's going to take a little too long and Eli's up front or vice versa right behind him, like we saw at San Diego, Eli pounced right away. Go back to Anaheim too. I think he rode behind Hunter for 2 or 3 laps ish in that main event.
He did.
And yes, ended up passing Hunter. But to me, it took too long, right? If he would have been in a position, where he really needed to, make some moves. Obviously we saw a very, very, very not a good start for him. So he had to come through the pack, but nonetheless, I agree with you. I feel like he just needs to have a little more intensity, in the opening laps.
Yeah. I feel like, RV, I feel like the reason that he, does kind of lay back early, well, obviously, but he's done it. He was doing it last year too. Like I saw it several times last year, and it's a bit costly, but I feel like I understand why he does it, because you go back to the beginning of his career. I mean, he had a crap load of intensity early on. Sometimes that would bite him, and you know how chaotic it can be, especially if you're not up front those first couple laps. I just think he's overly cautious, but he does it, I think, just to be safe, right? He's like, hey, just make it through these first 5 to 8 laps and you'll be good. And you can start going. But I feel like I think that mentality or that game plan would have worked well 5 years ago. I think because how fast and how much parity there is with everyone, and how start dependent and how track position is so important these days. I think you have to have a little bit. You can't be quite as cautious as what he's being right now. That's what I think.
Yep. It hasn't bit him too hard yet, right? I mean, obviously San Diego, that's the one that stands out. Eli going around the outside early in the first opening laps, but he ended up second, right? He got to follow. He probably, like we talked about, he learned a lot following Eli. They ran it down to the checkered flag. So like I said, it hasn't bitten him too hard yet. So, I mean, we're sitting over here speculating on one side. I noticed the same thing and agree with what you just said about having some opening laps that are a little bit, little quicker, getting into that pace a little bit sooner, but it's working for him so far. So I guess, what do we know at this point, Ricky?
Oh, well, no, you know a lot, but what you said, if he gets around Hunter quicker, I think it changes the complexity of the race. I do think, number one, in the heat race, let's use that for an example. Obviously, with the pass that him and Jason Anderson have, I think he's going to have to be really careful of when he passes them still, because I think that Anderson is not going to make it easy for anyone to get by, especially him. So I understand his. I'm not saying I'm being sympathetic with Jett, but I'm understanding his position. Probably like you be with certain guys, you got to make sure that you pass him with no contact, and you don't want to run him high because you don't want to offend him. So you basically have to pass him like Jett did.
Yep.
And sometimes that takes maybe a lap or 2 more to get it right because of the level that those guys are at. So I see why he played it cool in the heat race, play the long game here. Not sure that it really matters, but I think you're better off playing the long game if you're Jett versus Anderson. And then same, like if he gets by, again, like what you're saying, he gets by Hunter quicker, boom, then he just has to worry about Anderson, but he didn't. So then now you got Kenny breathing down your neck. Then that allows for Chase to get in there too. And then it was just so jammed up. But I mean, do you think he makes passes a little bit? Do you think he makes the pass quicker if it wasn't Anderson? Do you think he's being conscious of that?
I think a little bit of both. Yeah. I think because it's Anderson, being smart about that, like you said, getting a clean pass in, just not to ruffle any feathers. You don't need any more enemies than you already have. Obviously, everybody's trying to knock Jett off the top step of that podium or championship spot. But I also think the track too, maybe being a little bit slippery. I actually really dug the track. I didn't hear a lot of kickback from the track design. I thought it was I liked that it was the way the track was set up bigger jumps, a little tighter in the inside where it was a little bit one lined, but 2 sets of whoops. Like there was passing places on the track, but then it was, I kind of go back to maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, where there was like those big kind of floaters in the rhythm sections and then insides. And like, I liked the way the track was laid out. So maybe a little bit of that, and the track not being where you could really push. As we all know, monster trucks have been on the floor. We had a little bit of moisture come in, onshore flow. So it was a completely different track than A1 and San Diego, in my opinion, especially once it started the precipitation actually started coming down.
Yeah, it was a super challenging track in that regard. We'll talk about a little later. That's your United Motorsports moment of the week. Jett Lawrence's incredible win. You knew it was coming. I think it's cool that we have 3 different winners in both classes, mind you, which is really cool, with Chase Sexton winning the opener, Eli winning San Diego, Jett, a hell of a ride by Kenny. We'll get that in a little bit. Remember, when you sign up for United Motorsports, they're on their online presence, you get a $15 credit. So don't forget about that. And then they pick a lucky winner each and every week, and they'll give you get a $50 basically voucher gift card. So make sure you go and sign up unitedmotorsports.com. All right. So Motorsports on NBC's community poll that we've been doing, remember, a couple weeks. There you go. If you're watching, you can see it on the screen. We're going to watch you. So the topics this week, what was your favorite story coming out of Supercross round 3 at Anaheim? So here are the options that we have for you. Ken Roczen takes over the red plate. Before I tell you guys who my pick was, I don't know that I'm surprised by that. RV, just for the fact, like, dude, he's capable of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
veteran. Kenny typically starts off. I feel like he starts off maybe not as winning Anaheim 1, but he's always up there, consistent. And he's leaving Anaheim 2, obviously headed into Glendale with I believe the Anderson and Kenny right here, going through the whoop sections here. And, he starts off his seasons pretty well. And it's cool to see him back with the red plate. It's been a while, making the pass on Anderson here for the ones that are watching on YouTube. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to see Kenny and in the trajectory of his career, where he's at, obviously later side of his career and holding the red plate. So that's pretty cool, to be able to see.
I gotta take a step back, RV, and I shouldn't say eat my words, but I think that, like, Kenny in a way has alluded to this. Like, I don't know that he thinks of himself now that he can win the championship. Like, he's a championship guy. I think he's like a race wing guy for sure. And I think that his championship years, and I've said this already this year, and that's where I might have to retract what I said, is like, I think his championship years are behind him. I think that just how it's been in the past, I know that everyone can get better. I feel like his best opportunities of winning a championship are behind him, especially as like a Supercross championship, where it's a long season. There's a lot of moving things that happen, as you know. The climates are different. AC said something very interesting about Kenny, is he felt that Kenny was, very dependent upon what the physical conditions are on the track. If it's super hot, sometimes Ken struggles in those areas. If the cooler temperatures, he does a bit better. But anyhow, I don't know. What do you like? Did you get that feeling on some of the interviews?
Well, I agree with, I think obviously there's anything can happen in our sport, but I do agree with you that his actually securing a championship, they're probably behind you or behind him. I think it's his period of life where he's at, the 2 kids, bouncing around from World Supercross to SMX to popping into some outdoors. Like, I think he's enjoying his position in his career right now. Like, sure, he's going to give it hell, and he's going to, as we see, he's going to have the red plate. If everything goes to plan, hopefully we see him fighting for the championship in a championship contention position based on points, but actually like leading down to the last round of the season, fighting for the actual championship itself. Yeah. I mean, anything can happen, right? But I don't necessarily see that.
Yeah.
I think a race winner, like you said, maybe a multi-time race winner in a season. He's definitely capable of all those things, and he's capable of running this down to the last round too in a championship position. I just don't think that, I think that's going to be hard for him, if that makes sense.
It would be cool. It would be cool. He had a great ride. Kenny, good job. We have mad respect for you, brother.
Yep.
All right. So, we're talking about the community poll. What was your favorite thing about the weekend? Cole Davie's first podium. Not going to tell you guys. We're going to tell you who our votes were later when we're done breaking this down. Listen, we talked about it a crap load on the broadcast. I said it several times, so I don't need to regurgitate myself, and I want to hear what you had to say, RV, because you're the man. He's a completely different rider to me than he was last year. So every time I'm watching him ride, RV, it's just like, holy crap, dude, like the transformation and his progression from last year to where he is now. And like last year when you'd watch him, I just felt like he had speed, but there's a lot of times he was out of control. Like he didn't have control of the motorcycle, especially late in the races, to where now, dude, he looks like he's been in the class for 3 to 5 years. So what was that one of your favorite things?
It was like to see the progression is in watching him ride. Like he's very, very like to me, like massive gains with how precise he is. Like not a lot of mistakes. He's quick in the whoops. Like when you watch and break down in the entire Supercross track, like he looks like he's been at it for, this is his 3rd year, not his, technically not his first or second year.
His speed is good, dude. You're exactly right, dude.
Yep. And just consistent, and he's hitting his marks, and he doesn't look like he's green. He looks like he's been at this for a few years now and made massive strides, like you said, with consistency, hitting his marks, but also the speed is there. So it's going to be very interesting to see like what the ceiling is for him, right? Like coming from New Zealand and getting over here. It wasn't a big amateur national guy, like obviously raced amateur nationals and things that New Zealand and Australia offer, but didn't chase the amateur nationals here in the United States. So, from a fresh component, like him being not wore out as like a kid that's been racing for 15 years already, chasing the amateur scene in the US, like I feel like he's very green, like I said, in the where's the ceiling? I don't know. He looks phenomenal right now.
Yeah, he does. Like, dude, like when I watch him, he looks like he's at the practice track. Like he's ridden this track before, which I don't know if you heard his podium speech, but he gamed that track the night before. So he felt like, he's like, dude, I felt like I've ridden this track before. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I know like iRacing, how it seems like it's pretty accurate on the four-wheel side of things.
Game? Do you mean like on a laptop or Xbox?
Yeah, like the console game.
Okay.
He played it Friday night, dude.
No, iRacing.
Yeah, he played it Friday night.
Wow,
like, it's unbelievable how close he is, or how close the track was to the game. Yeah, he's like, I felt like I'd already knew the track. Straight up, dude. It's
crazy.
Yeah, right. All right, Hector, throw it up. What's the next one on the community poll? I believe it was, sushi. Was that one of your favorite things about the weekend? I mean, I have mad respect for him. I think he's doing great, right? Like he's hanging in there.
That's what it is, RC. That's what it is. He's hanging in there. He's showing grit that he hasn't shown myself or you, or I don't think anybody, right? Typically, if you were to go back 2 years ago, and he's dealing with the broken fingers like he is. I don't see him racing after, and I definitely don't see him racing Anaheim 2 or San Diego when it actually happened. Or no, was it Anaheim 1? Anaheim 1.
Yeah, it was. No, that was San Diego. Well, he won Anaheim 1 and then he got hit.
That's right. So San Diego. Sorry. San Diego. I don't see him racing after practice after that happened. So I think this is a massive, building block, learning experience. Fighting through this pain and racing and still throwing up some good performances. So I think that, to me, obviously, from the point standpoint, from the champion standpoint, that could be kind of slipping away if he can't
Totally.
recover by next weekend by Glendale, and get back up on the podium or racing for wins. If he, but like I said, the building block of him mentally, physically knowing what the body can be pushed through, I think it's a massive builder for him.
Yeah, he talked to Will, or he didn't. I think it was with Will. I can't remember what it was, but alluding to basically what you're saying is he said that he wasn't ready to give up on this year yet, and we're assuming that he's talking about the championship, and he's like, I'm gonna keep going. I think what to you're saying in years past, for sure, I think it would have been easier to just say, you know what, I'm gonna let this thing heal up. But when you win that opening round, you just have to, I think you have to grit it out for the most part, unless you can't ride whatsoever. You just have to go. I think him winning Anaheim changes that decision, in my opinion.
I 100% agree with that, RC. But also, I mean, if you're thinking big picture, if you're Honda, if you're any one of these other team manufacturers, where you're like, okay, well, Joe's, I'll use the word weak, always had a little bit of a weakness here or there. This is showing grit. So from what I'm seeing is, for future 450, because he is going to go there one day, here very shortly. I think it looks good on paper from that standpoint, for sure, because that's something that he was missing, in my opinion.
All right, Hector, what's the last one? Do you think that so Deegan, Lawrence back on top, both winning? I mean, I'll tell you, for me, I wouldn't say I'm not going to tell you guys who I voted for yet. RV's not going to tell you who he voted for yet. Hang with us. This wasn't my favorite thing of the weekend. But I was cool to see it. I expected Deegan to be up there on top a little bit earlier. We talked about it on the broadcast show. He was just, he's just kind of the guy. He's SMX defending champ 2-time. And then, so anyhow, I expected him to be there already, and same with that. So
yeah. And look, Haiden rode well, obviously, early on in that main event. Juju got up into the side of him, and then Haiden comes back. I thought that both of those incidents, call it incidents, were full racing, call it incidents. Haiden ran him up high, but the crazy part of what we were watching was from his racing was, Juju looked over as he doubled into that turn. He kind of knew it was coming. And did he think Haiden was going to run him to the bales? Well, you got to only assume, right, from Haiden, that's what he would do, right? So I think it was a little bit of a brain fart on Juju's side, not expecting him to run him all the way to the bales. But yeah, no, Haiden rode well. Also recovered from a massive mistake, almost went down as we got wheel spin off of that triple over the fight.
Yeah, that was a hell of a save, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure we got replay when we get into a little further here on the show. But he rode well. He's back on top.
And then Lawrence really, I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but is that doesn't surprise you, does it?
Jett.
Yeah, Jett. Sorry.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't surprise me. I've been waiting. No, it doesn't. He won. He won last night, and I think it's back to kind of starting off the season, not slow, but letting the season come to him is what we're seeing, and now he's back on top. So now it's gonna be interesting to see what he does with that. Now that he's got that first win of the season.
All right, so you were that's it. We'll come to the results there in a second after we get done with this 250 breakdown from the weekend. So much buzz and drama from the weekend in the 250 class. A lot of fun to watch, for sure, for multiple reasons. But going back to the Deegan and Juju, I think that made the night. myself, like if I'm watching the broadcast. So here's the pass in the heat race, and you just had to wonder when the antics would start between these two, and they lined up. This is a heat race. Deegan squares him up and goes up the inside. It wasn't massive contact.
Nope.
And I probably would have done the exact same thing. He slides his rear tire over. Juju got to the very tip top part of the berm, and then when it looks as though when Deegan slides his rear tire, boom, it pushes up Juju even a little bit higher, and then there was just nowhere to go, and the top of the berm gave way, and he goes down. When Deegan looked back, I thought the reason he looked back is not to see if the dude fell, but I don't know that Deegan felt that he hit his bike and that maybe Juju was going to cut back underneath him. That was kind of my analysis and what I saw. And tell us, RV, where your standpoint is from what you saw in that move. Was it fair? Was it not fair? Would you have done the same thing? Walk us through it.
Yep, I think it was a totally fair move. To your point of Haiden coming up the inside, pushing Juju a little bit high as they're coming in here, and watch. You can see Juju look over at the last second right there. So he was anticipating something to happen, and I think the look back was 100% correct, Ricky. I think he was thinking that Juju was gonna spin the rear of that bike around and come up the inside, and that didn't happen. I put that on just an experience-based thing, right? Hayden's had a little more experience than Juju, especially in this position as a championship position, racing up front every weekend. Hayden's done that a little more often than Juju. So I'll chalk that up as like that was a big learning experience for Juju right there. It wasn't dirty by no means. Anybody would have done that. That was a clean pass. And like I said, Juju was anticipating something happening because he looks over at the last second, expecting Haiden to be there, and he was.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that he should have spun that bike around and tried to come back underneath of him.
Yeah. We got some, dude. I think you watched the broadcast back, dude. It was so good, and I didn't know that Juju was like talking smack or whatever. Yeah. But anyhow, so we have the heat race interview from Deegan when he won. We have his interview from the podium when he won. And then we have a little sound on tape from Juju from the presser. Somebody obviously asked him what he thinks about the riding and how the night went. So Hector, roll these sound bites for us, brother.
Perfect start. Executed actually really well. Juju executed a good start as well. And then from there, I was just pinning solid laps, reeled in the leader. And I think he went down or something. It was just, racing. It's racing, dude. We're racing Supercross. If he runs into me, that's sick. He's got one coming too. I mean, it's just fair racing, If I got one coming, I got one coming. It don't matter, but it's Supercross. We're out here having fun and giving the crowd an absolute show at a heat race. You pissed off the bull last week. Juju ran his mouth, so it's time to lock in. And you don't want to piss me off because I come out swinging. So a big thanks to my team, though. They put a lot.
It's fun. We're having fun. No hard feelings. We're racing dirt bikes and we're here to win. So if we got to race like that every weekend, we're gonna race like that.
Yeah, it's starting to brew. It's starting to brew. Yeah,
take it away, champ. Break it down like heat race. You already talked about the heat race. Break it down on heat race interview, main interview, and what Juju had to say.
Yeah, I think, look, you got two different stances on it, right? Like you got your, Haiden. It's not like we haven't seen Haiden, speak like that or bring in that type of confidence or even cocky side of.
I love it though, dude. That was fun. That was fun to listen to.
Yeah, no, it was like you have two. It kind of feels like two polar opposites, right? Like you got Juju sitting over there. Hey, I'm okay with it if we're gonna race like this head to head. I know what's to come now, and I don't think there was anything. I think it's good for the sport. Obviously, Haiden was able to back it up, right? Like I've said it multiple times on the show. If you're gonna speak, if you're gonna go down that road and be like that, a little bit cocky and be that guy, you better back it up. Well, he has backed it up every time he gets on the gate, pretty much. At least from a championship standpoint, he has backed it up. I just think it was like a big
win, dude. It's like the win this weekend. RV. He's like, all right, where you at, bro? Yeah, guy goes out there and wins.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, but like I said, a big learning situation for Juju, not being in this position before, also not racing Deegs head to head like he has been in these first 3 rounds. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Juju can do with that ammo, right? Like, that type of mentality. If he can, to me, he looks very headstrong. And like I said, what can he do with it? Can he retaliate in a way that either Hayden's not expecting, or can he just come back and be, just nip away at him, kind of like the Dungey, the Diesel side of it, where it's just like you're there every single weekend and you're going to force Haiden into a mistake. I think it's going to be tough to force Haiden into a mistake. You're going to need a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, I think that if it's me, I'm taking the high road every single time, because no matter what you do, I feel like if you fuel the fire, he's just going to keep coming back for more. Deegs is right. He's one of those dudes. You ain't going to put him down on the media side and the talking side. I don't think that ever stops. If you retaliate, he's just going to double down. So I'm just going to kill him with kindness, dude. That's all I'm going to do. Keep my mouth shut, take the high road. I don't care if the dude takes me out 10 times. I'm just going to take it like a champ and keep working hard and get the best of them, or do the best that I can get the best of them on the track. That if I'm Juju, that's what I'm doing, dude.
Yeah, I think almost fly under the radar, like you're saying, and try to improve and bridge that gap up to the speed-wise. Obviously, as we saw, I know Juju went down, and he wasn't able to retaliate in any way or see if he could catch him, catch him. So, but I think, fly under the radar. Try not to get too chirpy with obviously the comebacks to Haiden, and catch him off guard, and hopefully, when he can do that, it's either Juju's having a good night and he can run it in on him and race for that race win, and get into his head that way. Like be so mentally strong, whatever Hayden's saying, you can't crack that shell.
Yeah. Nope. You're exactly right. Good stuff. All right. Last notable before we turn the page and we give you guys our answer on the Motorsports and NBC's community poll. Thank you, by the way, for the community poll, because we have 6,000 people that voted for that. That's pretty strong within 24 hours. So last notable for the 250 class, Drew Adams. I think he did a great job given the circumstance of not knowing when the hell he was going to race. I think Mitch even made him ride on Friday, I believe I heard. But I think he did a great job keeping his composure, keeping it upright, finishing the race, making all the laps on a extremely difficult and challenging race course. Not only the course itself, but the conditions with it raining. I thought it wasn't a win, but it was like a win, I think.
I agree with you, Ricky, that it's asking a lot coming into round 3, number 1, which I also think is kind of a good thing. You don't start off as a rookie, all of this new atmosphere that you've never been in, your debut Supercross, and you start Anaheim 1, because you're technically still in it for the championship, right? So anything can happen. We know that in our sport, but coming in at round 3 at Anaheim 2, first time, like actually Ronnie, his dad, sent me a video about a week ago. Hey, you think he's ready? Do you think he's ready? And yes, I watched the video. He's been training with Hunter. He's been training with Jett. I've actually known Drew for a little bit now, and kid's got talent, and he's got a lot of work ethic also. So I think that was a massive win, right? To get through your first round. I think he ended up 4th in the heat race, which is a great finish in the heat race, and then to get 8th in the main event on a tough track, and then also a little bit of rain made the track even more technically. It was very slippery, and so I think he did phenomenal. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do with that just that pressure off of his shoulders. Okay, I finished my first Supercross race, also in the top 10. As you see, him and Cole Davies went back and forth from
SMX Next, yeah.
SMX Next riders. Obviously, they were both in that last year, and you can see the trajectory Cole's on. So I think those two have a bright future.
Yeah, and then you going back to A1 RV. I mean, Cole got 7th or 8th at the Anaheim one, and I think he had a better transition or process going into Anaheim because he knew he was racing. So I would say, not saying that he had it easy going into his rookie race, but Drew, like that uncertainty, it's it just adds to the angst, I think, of doing that. So great job, Drew. There you go. Haiden closing the gap. He's only 7 points out. This weekend coming up in Glendale, RV, it's going to be a big one. And the reason that I say that, because it is the Triple Crown. Jordan Smith coughed up a point or two there going down the last lap, but I appreciate the effort. He was trying to get past Juju through the whoops and got kicked sideways. Got lucky that he landed in the sand on the tough block. So he went from 3rd to 4th. So he lost a position there. I think he'd probably only be 8 points back. So those 3 guys, that's where the battle's at. Joe's hanging on by a thread, like you saw. Cody Schock had a really nice weekend as well. But there's the points. I think it's I think this weekend, before they go on hiatus, forced hiatus, Triple Crown, 3 starts, 3 main events, essentially. I think it's potential for a big weekend, dude. Straight up.
Yeah, just it's all the above, right? 3 gate drops adds a whole nother element into it. It's a long day. It's early. It's an earlier day for everybody. It's a more jam-packed day because of the Triple Crown. So, but yeah, the 3 gate drops make it very, very, very interesting. So I anticipate a big, some what do you call it? I anticipate some shakeup this weekend with those 3 gate drops and points kind of flopping around and doing different things, and there's a lot to gain and there's a lot to lose on a Triple Crown.
There is. And again, like, I know, like, for me, RV, like, when we were going to have a weekend off, like, it was so important for me to have to try to get a win, or at least have a good night, because I just wanted to kind of enjoy my weekend off, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like, just from a confidence standpoint, you can leave with a solid finish, or a win, obviously is the best. Everybody else is going back to say, how can we bridge that gap and make up those points, or vice versa. Like, how can we get better leading into that off weekend where you just, if you end up winning, it's not a vacation, it's not a break, but at least from the mental side, you're like, you can breathe a little bit more.
Right. Moving on, we'll have before we get to the quad lock question of the week, we will have our Motorsports and NBC community poll answers. We'll tell you who RV voted for, what his favorite night was, favorite thing of the night was, and what mine was. I'm not going to show you that yet. So moving on to the Boxo breakdown, check them out, boxousa.com. They are running a multi-tool sale. They extended the sale, actually. You get $500 off, and that sale has been extended to January 31st. I'm sure you'll see it on the socials. I did a little promo video for him this week, especially on that pro. Yeah, if you buy like a Pro Series toolboxing is awesome. You'll get they extended the sale for the multi-tool. Whatever. I can't remember exactly package. That's it. Thank you for that. So go check them out. But for sure, the Boxo breakdown got to be Eli Tomac this week. Horrible start, as you can see right here. If you're watching, he's on the outside. Take it away.
Yeah, so he's outside of the box. So typically, looks like he spun off the grate, but definitely in front. I saw a photo of his line once he was out in front of the gate, just a full roasted the rear tire right there. He goes sideways, breaks traction, then comes into the middle of the start there. And then what I don't like, I've talked about this before, like, see how he's on the outside there, middle to outside coming in. Like, you have no option. Typically when anything happens on a left or right hand turn, the chaos goes outside. It gets pushed outside. So if you go back, and I know we've talked about it a lot on the show, myself, Ricky, you, Chad, James, we would never be on the outside there.
There ain't no shot, dude. No way.
That's just how we were. I'm not saying it's right or wrong for us or Eli, but just in that scenario, maybe if you don't want to line up like 3 or 4 from the inside, maybe it's the left side of the tunnel jump, a little more on the inside. I know Haiden did pull a hole shot from the outside, from that exact gate, actually. But everything has to go right and perfect. And you got to get the
like
wheel
the risk, right? We were talking about it. Tell them, like, tell our listeners, like, what we were talking about before we recorded. The risk versus on the outside versus the risk and the result on the inside. Tell them the risk.
I think you have one option when you're out there where Eli started. You have to get the jump. You have to get a good drive out in front of the gate, and you have to pull the hole shot. Now, my theory is when you get up to more on the inside of the gate, same thing. You still got to get a jump on everybody around you, and you still got to get a good drive. But let's say you don't maybe get the best jump. You're able to sneak around the inside. I don't know how many hole shots or lead laps James has come out of the first turn. When you would watch, he would be like 8th going into the first turn, and he would sneak up the inside, and he'd come out 1st, 2nd, or 3rd a lot of times. So that's why I don't like being on the outside like that, because if there is any chaos, it typically goes wide every single time. Eli was able to, that he got caught up. He did get stood up, and he came around the turn like, 3rd to last almost. So, yes, I understand that he broke traction. People would say, oh, well, if you didn't have broke traction, outside would have been, could have worked. And it did work for Haiden, but to me, you're opening yourself up to a can of worms. If you don't execute absolutely perfect, you have one option. You're buried in the pack.
I had an opportunity to talk to Rich Simmons, the team manager for that 450 Monster Energy Star Racing Yamaha team, and ask him, because like the video that we just saw here on the podcast, did he spin on the grate or after the grate? And indeed, it was after the gate, like you said, like we saw it there on the second shot. And that's all it takes. And that's what I love about your analysis on this RV. And Cody Simmons .23 says, spinning off the start, is it more the rider or the start traction control thing? And I think good. That's a really good question, Cody. I think it's both. I think it's twofold. I think like what RV just explained to us perfectly. I don't think anyone else could have explained it better. When you're on the outside, the risk factor is so much higher, and you have to be perfect. You basically have no room for slip, and if you do, it's game over. It's just a recipe for disaster. And so what happened is it appeared that he got a decent jump, but then he got over the gate, and then the tire just lit up, and then at that point it's all over. It is just absolutely over. There you can see he's way back. He's in the middle of the pack. Then he gets tipped over to the side. Looks like he collided with one of the quad lock Honda guys. I don't know if it was Savachi or maybe McElrath. No, I think it was Cooper Webb. Watch, right? No, he got high sided.
49 is that he got his front tire caught the end of
Oldenburg.
Yeah. But if you go back and watch that, I think Hunter had the jump on him regardless. Hunter had the jump on him, and he was going to chop him off, and he's going to be mid-pack anyways, right? So that's what I don't like about it. If it did not execute perfect, the guy on the right side of you is going to chop you off because he's going to the inside, and then you have to let off. So
I don't like the outside either, dude. Like Cody, like I'm with my man and my co-host RV on this. Like I don't like the outside. I've never been that way. I know that there was a theory and some stats going on. If it wasn't last season, it was for sure in 2023 season RV, to where everyone was playing with that far outside gate. And Eli does go to the outside more sometimes than his competitors do, because the theory is that they don't have to brake as early if they're outside, and that they can sweep around the outside, carry more speed into that first turn. And yes, you can do that. But if you don't get the jump, you don't get the whole shot out of the gate, you don't get that theory, goes out the window.
Yep.
So I think your margin of error is considerably less than starting on the inside. And I think when the series is so start dependent these days, because these guys are so close in time, I'd rather break early for the first turn than.
Well, put about it this way. If you do go to the inside, right, and you out jump everybody, and you get the wheel on everybody. Now you're controlling it from the inside versus the outside. Now you might have somebody race in around you, but they're going to come in so hot because you're controlling the inside. They're going to have to go out wide, and then they blow the turn a little bit, and then you sneak up the inside. And if you don't get the jump, you have a second option of staying up the inside, hopefully getting clear, not having, like I said, typically when guys lock bars, when things happen, it goes to the outside of the turn, not to the inside. So you have a little grace there where if you don't get the jump on the outside and you're in the back of the pack and something happens, it's going wide. It's coming out towards you. So that's what I think. I know you think the same. I'd like to see, if we had a crystal ball and say, okay, all of you top 5 factory riders are the ones, let's put you all on the inside and what happens. I think your outcome is very similar to what we have on the outside. Yeah. Those are going to be up front.
No doubt. I agree with you. 3 different winners. Talked about that a little bit. In both classes, actually. Hey, is that chai dirty?
Dirty chai.
Dirty chai. I tried to get Curly to get his chai dirty on Saturday morning. He's like, no way, dude. Because he's not a coffee drinker. He's like, no way. Remember, they messed one of mine up. I told him I wanted an extra shot in my chai one time, and they made it dirty like you like yours. He's like, they messed it up. He thought he wanted an extra shot of whatever the chai stuff.
He wanted it more. He wanted it even sweeter than it is. Jeez. Yeah.
I know, right? Maybe he thought they'd put hair on his head. Who knows? I love it. He can't talk back. He can't retaliate because he's not right. Right. So, all right. So I kind of asked you this off air. Like, tell me, you already told us like kind of your thoughts on the weekend and as far as your analysis on Eli and what it's been. You just didn't like his gate pick this weekend. Okay, moving forward, you kind of told us like what your thoughts are on Jett. You gave us that early on. The only guy that we haven't talked about that has won is Chase. And then I want to get you already talked about Kenny, and then I want to hear about Anderson. But what do you need to see? What do you like? What do you dislike? If breaking down Chase Sexton.
I thought it was a so-so weekend for him. He ended up.
He was sick though. Supposedly he was sick.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that definitely plays a factor, but we've seen it before. It sounds like that, or it is. The sickness is going around. Coop's been dealing with it. Jason's been kind of dealing with it, and it's just something everybody's dealing with right now. So, regardless of that, I thought it was a so-so weekend. Fourth. Obviously Eli with the start that he had, so he was able to beat Eli. But Jett being up front, I don't know.
You can't spot these guys you just can't.
That's where I was going. You can't on those off weekends, a 4th Jett winning, I think you need to get up to the 2nd, 3rd. But look, I think the positive from the weekend was didn't show him a ton, obviously on the broadcast it did, but not a ton. And, consistent. I mean, I didn't see any major mistakes. Obviously, a technical track. When it sprinkled, it made it even very more slippery. So, mistakes are prone to happen when it's like those conditions. It rains before the night show and things like that. So I just thought it was a so-so weekend. I wasn't impressed, but I wasn't not impressed either. So, it's going to be interesting to see what we can do at Glendale, or what he can do at Glendale. That is.
So you take the top 3. I'll say the big 3, and Coop's right in there because he's 2-time champion. You have to give him the benefit, and as well as Kenny and Anderson. Anderson's a past Supercross champ. The only guy in the mix out of those 5, or pardon me, 6, are the only guy that hasn't won a championship is Kenny. So I think like you have Eli has had a 5th and a 6th now. Jett had a 12th. Now Chase has had he got 5th this weekend, and he got
5th, yep.
Yeah, right. So a 6th at San Diego. So basically, let's just say they've all had a throwaway race at this
Mm-hmm.
stage. So I'm going into Glendale. It's a Triple Crown. Eli statistically is really, really good at Triple Crowns. So I think that the bigger floor is going to be helpful for him. I mean, let's get it right, dude. Like Eli's awesome on everything, RV, at this stage, right? I do think that the faster tracks can be better for him. Like maybe he'll be more comfortable. I do believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. So I think like we're starting with a clean slate. I think everybody has had a bad start, has had a bad race, and we're kind of back to basics. Like Hector, throw up that points, the 450 points. That would be super helpful if you can do that. Here you go.
Yeah, you got Kenny with 62, obviously Chase 3 down, Jett 5 down, Eli 5 down, and then Coop obviously starting to get into the 10 down, and Jason Anderson 13 down. But yeah, Chase, I mean it's such a close race still, right? Like you said, we're almost back to square one. Our top 4, top 5, let's call it, Coop, but all championship contenders, all been in this position before. I like you said, other than Kenny without a Supercross championship, but he has the maturity is obviously there, the speed's there. He's holding the red plate right now, so it's great to have him in the mix. But it's kind of down to square one. We're back. It
is. So the big 3 that we're talking about, and they've earned that right. They're only 2 points separating them. Chase is three down, and Eli and Jett are tied for third at 5 points down. There you go again. So essentially, I mean, RV, you know better than anybody that's 0 for the most part at this stage in the game. That's nothing. So it's getting down to the nitty gritty. We're round 4. It's gonna start surfacing, I believe. I think
it's going to be interesting to see how long we can stay in this position from, obviously we're coming up on round 4. I've said it before, Daytona for a lot of these guys is like the reset button gets pushed, and that's like the championship fight from Daytona on. Typically, statistically, whoever wins Daytona, it tends to win the championship. It's happened a lot, guys that win Daytona and go on to win the championship. So if we can keep our points, obviously perfect world, it'd stay right where it's at, and we just clicking off these weekends, and it'd go down to the last round. I don't see it staying this close in points till the mid or call it halfway of the season. But right now, with what we're looking at, it's a great recipe for a great disaster coming up, right? So perfect storm.
That's right. It is. It's the perfect storm. I think the mistakes need to be eliminated, and like consistency is going to become a lot more important. Not that it's not important, but you're going to have less time to make up from a disastrous or bad race. So I think the good guys are going to start honing in, and they're going to be in the zone. And I think we're basically starting at 0. They've got their throwaway. And where I I personally think, before we get into the Dunlop debate, RV, it's just those 5th places and 6th places from here on out are going to sting if you got Chase and Eli splitting wins, or any of the 3 splitting wins. And so the Dunlop debate, and this segues perfectly. All right, the Dunlop debate this week. And again, thanks for Dunlop for hosting Title 24 live show this weekend. Appreciate that. And again, thanks Mathis and RD for coming on and helping out. This is great. Is this the deepest 450 field that you can remember?
I would say, from the standpoint of like past champions involved, yes. The points race, and who's the quality of riders. Like, go back to myself, I had 3, 4. Middle of the season, we had 3. Come down to the end of the season, you'd have 2. So looking at our point situation right now, and looking at the depth of the field, I think it probably is, with the amount of different race winners we've had previously last year. We've already got 3 different race winners this year. So I would agree that it's probably our deepest field in a long time.
100%. That's why I think I agree with you 100%. That's why I think that This is the toughest field, deepest field that we've had. And so you got Eli, Jett, Chase, Coop, Anderson. You got 5 past champions currently
Kenny.
racing. Yeah,
Also,
Kenny's not a champ. Kenny's
yeah, not a champ, but you could throw Kenny in there.
You got, but so yeah, throw Kenny in there as well. Any of those guys can win a Supercross right now. Any guy. So that's why it's just gonna be gnarly. It's gonna be gnarly, and that's why it's so hard to predict. Before we get to our Motorsports on NBC community poll results, of the guys that who do you think can be the most consistent? I know I'm putting you on the hot seat here, dude, but this is what you like.
I mean, I'm gonna go with the old dog. I'm gonna go with Eli. I think Eli can be the most consistent. Obviously, what we just saw was a botched start, right? Which that's, to me, that falls in the consistency category of, like, you can't have those mistakes. But I think I'm gonna lean on Eli right now. But also Jett close second, right? Like you typically don't see a botched start like that from Eli from Jett that bad. Like he may get a bad start. But we've already seen a 12th coming out of Anaheim 1. So, the mistakes have been there from multiple guys already. Chase stalling it. It didn't happen to hinder him in that main event. But if things would have been just a smidge bit different and guys were, the top guys, I know Kenny was there, but he already had a little bit of a gap. But if things would have been a little different, say Jett up front, Eli up front in that scenario, that could have cost him 2 positions, like with a snap of a finger.
Yeah. So I just got done watched the playoff games last night, NFC and AFC playoff games with the Commanders and the Eagles. The Eagles put it on them, and then the Bills and the Chiefs. And I was watching some analysis this morning on it, and they're like putting these guys on the hot seat as like, all right, who's going to win the Super Bowl? And great analysts just, it's so hard to call that game. And it just depends on, so you got Saquon Barkley, like they're saying, like, dude, if the Chiefs can't contain Barkley, it's going to be hard for the Chiefs to beat that guy. Right. And I'm sure, like, if you're the Eagles, you're trying to do everything you can do to pressure Mahomes into mistakes and throw and coughing up the ball. And so I feel like when I ask you, I'm like, well, who do you think can be the most consistent? I think that you can make a fair point for all of these guys. I think Jett, for example, I think that he brings something to the table, and he did it this weekend. And this is what I think separates, the younger generation to the older generation that have to rely on their experience and have to be perfect and have to have a lot more things go their way. That triple over the tabletop after the finish line. The younger generation riders are just going to do that stuff. And that's where the advantage is going to be. And some older guys aren't going to take the risk to do that. It's just, whether it's hard to do, whether it's difficult, whether it's risky, whether it's not even hard, there's just some more risk involved, and they don't want to do that. You could make a fair point for Jett. Like, that's what's going to put him over the top, and he has a speed advantage and he's technically better. But then you go to the strong points that you talked about, Eli, of, dude, if he's rock solid, he's riding really good, he's in mid-season form, he has that experience, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But then you can also make the same point. You can make the same point for Chase and how well he is, how good his bike looks, and everything that he's done, like the mistakes he's done wrong in the past. Like he's paid that forward, and he's a better rider because of it now. I mean,
yeah.
Did you
did you happen to see that different Jett? I think was the only one that I saw that with the different combination. Was it out of the first turn where it was like 3 over the table or 4 over the table and then 3 into the single?
No, yeah. That's the one that Jett did in the last lap of practice.
Okay.
And then he was doing it in his heat, and he would reel those guys in. It's just, so going back, it's just like the analysis, like they're in the NFL. I mean, it just depends on who you can contain and who you can't, and who's going to show up, dude. Like I watched Saquon Barkley just ruin that team yesterday, and it sucks because the Commanders, Daniels is an incredible. It's a great football organization, and he's an incredible athlete. You know, he's one of the best rookie QBs the league has ever seen statistically.
Wow.
And you can make the same case for all these guys. And Chase, like I think he's in a good spot, but you know, like is he going to make those stupid mistakes? If he doesn't, he has just as good of a shot to win as anyone else. You see what I'm saying?
And that's the funny thing is it is a game. It's a race of mistakes, right? Like
that's all it is. You're exactly right.
That's what it is. It's a race of mistakes. Who can make the least amount of mistakes? You know, you line up on the gate. Who's going to get the jump? Well, if you don't get the jump and you don't get like Eli 2 nights ago, Saturday night, Anaheim 2, like that was a mistake. He fumbled the ball right there.
He did. You know, he started on the outside.
Started on the outside, but he broke the tire loose. You know, all of those different things. Maybe he was a little bit late on the gate. You know, we're so fine-tuned, you know, for the listeners, like these racers, and at one time me and Ricky were the same way, but we're no longer. But these racers that are on the line, they are so fine-tuned. 9 times out of 10, when they come back and they do their downloads at the truck, they're like, dude, what happened on the gate? And he goes, oh, I was late, and then I spun really bad. Like he can give you the 3 things that went wrong. Boom, right there. And you got to go back and you have to try to fix it. The problem is it's not necessarily can I fix it, right? Because they already know what they did wrong and they know how to do it the right way. It's just, I guess that's where the bumper sticker comes from. It happens sometimes, you know, like you can't be perfect every single time.
Right. And dude, like that's the tough part. I mean, I'm sure like, you know, when people say who's going to win RV, and like RC says, what's up? Well, like who you think's going to win? I'm like, I would tell them the exact same thing we're having the conversation about right here on our podcast. It's just,
you know, if they would ask me who's going to win, you know, when I say, well, look at the board or the sheet really quick. Well, if you go off of this, James is going to win, you know, straight up. Like, look at his time. He's eight tenths quicker than the rest of us after third practice. Well, then we go and we position ourselves in a different, we take a different stance, and it's like, okay, now we're going to focusing on pushing him into a mistake.
A race plan,
a race plan, you know, and then you also have to rely on a little bit of what if James botches the start? Well, what if Eli botched the start? Well, Eli botched the start, Anaheim too, right? So there's a lot of strategy inside of that, but then it does come down to it is just dirt bike racing, and you have to bring it every time you're behind the gate.
All right, so Motorsports on NBC community poll. Throw it up there. Do you want to you want to go first? You want to tell us who you picked?
I'm going to take the first one. I'm going Cole Davies.
Ah, nice. Push it on there, Hector. Boom. Click it.
Wow.
No, he's not. Oh, there. Oh, what?
7%. 55 for Kenny.
Dude, that's it. Well, remember, this is everyone's favorite story coming out. Okay, yeah. Tell us why Cole Davies' first podium is your favorite.
We talked about it, Ricky, how solid the kid's riding right now. Rookie, in my eyes, a sheer green rookie. You mentioned how consistent, how precise he looks. The gains he made from last year to this year, it looks like a completely different rider. Yes, is it a surprise back to Kenny that he's got the red plate? Yeah, that's a surprise, but it doesn't surprise me as much as what I'm seeing at a Cole Davies and the progression that he's made and the consistency and the speed. That to me as a rookie, not being from here, being from New Zealand, there's a lot of things that are very impressive with Cole.
Yep, same. So I picked Cole Davies as well. And
Yeah.
the reason it was my favorite is, one, from everything that you said, and two, it's the first time that he's been on the podium as a professional. I think the first time that you're able to, whether it's you win a heat race, win a main event, get your first premier class podium, whatever the first is, it's a core memory that will stick with you forever. I remember my first podium. I'm sure you remember your first professional podium.
Very special time for Cole.
That's right. So there you go. That was mine. RV and I, no surprise, on the same page as far as the Motorsports on NBC's community poll. I know y'all like some drama sometimes, but rarely, I'm going to toot our horns a little bit, but rarely when, you have careers like RV and I have had and been fortunate enough to have, like our game plan and the people that we've worked with, like we all think the same. And we have a lot of similar strategies, and that's, I don't think there's
strategies that work. It worked for you. It worked for me. It worked for Dunge. Like, we're all very similar in that way.
Yeah, it's just not by happenstance that it happened the way that it did. Like, it's because of our game plan and our approach. And so, anyhow, that's why a lot of times we don't disagree. So, little street cred to RV and myself. But all right, so the quad lock question of the week, last but not least, and I love this, dude. I love this, and I don't think we're going to see eye to eye on this. However, quad lock question of the week, check them out, quadlockcase.com. The winner of the quad lock question of the week is Kent Greer 3609. There you go on the screen. If you're watching it, you can see. If you're just listening us, Kent Greer asks, what did you think about the whoops at A2? Would RV and yourself favor them? Take it away, boss.
I loved it. Now I got one question for you.
Why did you love it though?
What was it? What did we have 10 or was it?
No, they were 9. I think they were 9.
Was there 9?
Do you count the starter? Do you count the starter?
I don't count. I typically don't count the starter. So if we had 10 last weekend without the starter, that means we, if you count it, that'd be 11, right? So I loved that we had back-to-back whoops. I saw it made for passing on the track, number one. And I think there was a question asked, I think maybe it was in the post-race show, like about whoops, and Jett was like, hey man, it sucks when you have 9 whoops and you go 3-3-3, right? So I liked how they had back-to-back whoops. They seemed to be pretty big. One set got rolled with a steamroller. Mm-hmm. And I actually watched somebody down on the track. It was an Instagram video of them walking through it, showing the cups that were in it and how kind of destroyed the whoops got. Like, dude, that's, to me, that is Supercross. Yes, the racing, the jumping, all of those, as we're watching Kenny and Jason go through the whoops here. I liked how the first set, you could come into it with a little more speed. And I liked how the second set was right out of the right-hand turn. To me, that's Supercross. I love having the whoops. I wouldn't consider myself like a complete whoop master, but I was pretty damn good in them. I think they're a fun challenge to have on. I like them. So, yes.
So you liked it then. You liked it.
I loved having that to me. Like I thought so far out of our 3 tracks, if I had to say, I liked this track the best.
There you go, Kent. You heard it from the 4-time Supercross champ. It would favor him. I mean, it just depends. Like for me, it was more condition. Here's the crazy thing. I was telling one of the SMX track crew guy this, because I was sitting there having a conversation with them. They're trying to see which ones are better, the steamrolled or the regular ones.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it all kind of worked out. I mean, but I like in 98 when I was on 125s, dude, I was the king of whoops. Like I would be like one of the only 125s blitzing the whoops when they were ever blitzers, right? If they were jumpers, I was going to jump them. I liked jumping whoops, even when I was good at blitzing them. And then in 99, I hit the deck a lot, but the way that my bike was set up for them, I wasn't scared to blitz whoops. I was pretty good through them. And then as time went on, I did degress a little bit. I wasn't the worst, but I wasn't the best. And when I realized that I wasn't going to be the best, I just like, dude, I just need to just maintain. Like if I'm the 5th fastest or 6th fastest through there, I'm cool with that. I don't need to be the fastest, right? Like I'll be faster everywhere else. So I think I would have been all right with these. I will say this though, like it would have have favored RV better than me. What my theory is for the whoops is not necessarily the size, the shape, what have you. I learned a lot last week, and I saw a difference this week. I think that the corner, so you went through the first whoop, you did a 180. Let's just say when you're coming out of the corner, it's like from tip of the bowl turn to the first whoop is 13 feet, right?
Yep.
I'm just using numbers
A
here.
number, round number. Yep.
There you go. You go back to San Diego, and the tip of the berm to the first whoop was like 8 feet.
Mm.
So what I think that does is, for safety purposes only right now, I'm talking safety, I think it slows the whoop speed down.
It does.
So you have less speed coming in. It's harder to get up on top. You have to put more emphasis to get the corner right, and you have to bring more speed around the corner because you don't have a long enough lane or long enough patch to get going and get up on top. And with the corner being closer, I think that if you're a guy like Justin Cooper Webb, or like Hunter likes to jump through them a lot, it gives you that option to jump. Like, I feel like when you have long runs into them, you put guys and you put everyone in a box to where you have to blitz them if you want to be on the board, if you want to have a good qualifying time, if you want to have a good opportunity to win, you have to do it. And I understand it's Supercross, blah blah blah, but it's just, you can't have a long run into them and expect to have a multi-groove whoop lane. It's just going to be too slow to slow up and jump.
Yeah, typically.
So what I think they need to do from a safety standpoint, push that corner closer. So it forces guys to be fast around the corner so they can get up on top. Outside of the V'd out whoops at San Diego, I think that was a perfect scenario, because you could see Eli would go to the top and blitz, and you saw Jett jump. Yeah, where you didn't have that option. You were more in a box, and the speeds were faster. So if they do fall, when they hit the deck, a lot of people were crashing qualifying practice through there. And it just, you get going too fast. And then when you do fall, it's going to hurt more because of the speeds. That's my opinion. I'm not saying it's
close. To explain on that a little bit more, obviously, being that it's 13 feet versus 10 feet, you shortened up by 10, but that 2 feet's a lot coming out of a turn. And what if it's a 13-foot from the berm to the starter whip, that extra 2 feet when you're coming in, like, you actually now have to brake. You have to brake if you're going to jump, right? So to your point of like having those bigger runs, to break the speed down and then triple or quad or whatever combination you end up having to do, that added 2 or 3 feet coming out of the turns, that'll be a tenth or two once you come out of the turn, rail that turn, because you're not going to slow the turn down, but you're going to rail the turn. Then you got to brake, slow your speed down, and then you got to get into your combination. So it makes it, from a technical standpoint, it makes it tougher to obviously blitz the whoops when they're a little bit closer, because you got to put so much more emphasis on the turn and making that turn fast and do it correctly so that you can get out and get up on top of those whoops. I will say that I like the diversity, like having whoop sections that are set up like you just explained, Ricky, closer to the turn, and then having some like we just saw at Anaheim too, a little more of a 2 or 3 foot longer run in, so you do have the speed. And what makes those whoops so technical is, once they get broken down, once they get a little slippery, just like what we saw, we had a little bit of rain, you're focused on obviously hitting 3 to 4 inches of the top of each whoop every single time. And then once they get broke down, the cups start to come into play. Now you're looking for a line selection that's a little smoother, that's not so edgy. And as it gets even more slippery, now you're trying to modulate the throttle on those. You just can't come. Typically, guys like, you got to come into them fast. You do have to come into them fast, and you can't let off. But the thing is you got to modulate that throttle the slightest bit on each face of the whoop, so that if I need a little bit more here, then I give it a little more throttle. If I get the RPMs too high, I need to get that RPMs down so it's in the meat of the power more, so that it's not, the tire's just not going to blow apart when it hits the next whoop. If you are high on the RPM, tires starting to break loose. So there's so many things to about blitzing a set of whoops that you have to think about all at once.
You know what's gnarly is, like, for me, RV, like you talked about manipulating the throttle and just like cracking it on each whoop face to go forward. Having the discipline to do that and not override it and miss one with your front in a heated battle situation.
Yeah.
That was always the toughest thing for me. I'm like, it's just like you get going, you get excited, and then you start carrying too much speed. Having that discipline with the throttle to manipulate it properly so you don't miss one I think it's an oversight. It's so hard to do. It's hard. Maybe it was harder for me than others, but
I think also one key thing too is you don't see a lot of guys doing it. You see a lot of like there's a few, Hunter, Jett, I think, but riding with your pointer finger or one finger on the clutch in the whoops too. As they get blue groove, as they get slippery, if you need to, like, we're modulating in the throttle along with the clutch. I always rode with my finger on the clutch. Go back to old videos, or if you go on YouTube, 9 times out of 10, if you watch James, his finger's not on the clutch.
Mine, I didn't use a finger on the clutch either.
Yeah. But your only option is then, Ricky, is if you do get kicked sideways, or if you do miss one, you're not able to get your finger up on the clutch quick enough. So your only option is to hold that thing even twisted even farther. There's a famous one, or not famous, but Anaheim 2, James was on the Suzuki. He like shot into the mechanics area as it went sideways. It came in super fast. It got sideways. And his only option was to actually give it more throttle. I think I know from a fact that if you had his finger on the clutch, as it went sideways, he kind of may be able to manipulate the clutch and the throttle and potentially saved it.
I know. Like, same way. I just couldn't do it, dude. I had to be gripped on. Like, dude, if I have to take my middle finger, because that's the finger I use for the clutch, I felt like I wouldn't have the grip. And they're like, no, dude, it's not going to make that much of a difference. I promise you, you'll be way safer. You'll be better. I'm like, nope, I'm going to take my chances. And I had some big
white knuckle.
I did. But, dude, look at, Christian Craig, for example. He doesn't run his finger on the clutch or the wheel.
I thought he was one that he did. I thought he was one that did have it
I
on.
don't think he did. We have to look at some video, but he did it. I don't think he did on the 250s.
Okay. But if you go back and look, Chad was famous for it. I was famous for it. Like,
MC was.
Like a lot of the good guys that were like consistently good in the whoops typically had their finger on the clutch. I think Hunter and Jett both do. I think Anderson does also. I think it's I think it's something that guys need to learn to do more.
Yeah. Well, cool. Kent, there you go. See, RV and I have 2 different theories on the whoops. There's no doubt about that. But congratulations on the Quad Lock winner of the week. We'll get you set up. I know JH will put you in contact with Quad Lock when you get it. Post about it. I have no doubt that you will like it. And RV, that is it for the day. That was a fun podcast.
Yes, it was.
To me, I think it was one of the funnest ones I've done, outside of having the epic guests. I think, so for a poll, I think that maybe you guys tell us who you'd like to have on the podcast. I think some guys probably won't come on because maybe they don't like me for a reason, or you pissed them off or something. RV, I'll blame you for it, but
that's all right.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be okay. But nevertheless, appreciate everybody. Thanks for the Motorsports NBC's community poll. That's been a lot of fun also. And to all our great sponsors, United Motorsports, Quad Lock, Case, Boxo, Dunlop, thank you guys very much for the support. Again, thanks Dunlop for hosting the live show this past weekend, and our substitutes. We appreciate that. Remember, you can always check us out on Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page, and Peacock. We're live on Peacock. We're on all the podcast applications before we leave. Throw up the Motorsports on NBC's YouTube. We're going to show you for this week, SMX Insider with Wygant and Thomas. That is always Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We're on iHeartRadio as well now. Our podcast is, so that's cool. Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, race day live with Brayton and AC. Practice and qualifying, that'll be live on Peacock. And then 8 p.m. Eastern time, Glendale, Monster Energy Supercross Round 4. That's live on Peacock. And then Monday, 1 a.m., if you're up early, your graveyard shift, check out the encore presentation on CNBC. Remember, this weekend is a Triple Crown at Glendale. So 3 main events per class. It's going to be exciting. You won't want to miss it. And that's going to do it for us, RV. So hey, before we get off, everyone tuning in, if you go into Glendale, you got to check out my guy RV's boys in their race. Are both of them racing this weekend?
Just one this weekend. I have Gage. Gage is coming out to race KGSC at Glendale, and then Brax will be doing Dallas. So a lot of learn.
Dude, are you going to be kitted up? You going to be kitted?
I'll be kitted up down on the line. Yes, I will be. You'll see us down there. It's going to be a big learning experience from them. I don't expect anything special other than just getting down on the line and having an 8-year-old experience, sitting down on the line with 60,000+ fans or 45,000+ fans and giving them that experience. Every one of those kids on the line for KGSC are getting an experience that not many have. And then the parents. I mean, for you, like you've experienced it, but I've experienced it. Yes, you're right. But to giving the parents, giving these kids an opportunity to get down on the floor and show them what this is all about, and hopefully they'll get there one day on their own from either a factory team or a privateer standpoint. Like it's really cool what they're able to experience. So yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot other than to hopefully have them take it all in and learn. Are you like full moto dad? Like, or do you like? It's full. Like full, no way you get into it like full on, like before the gates drop, you're like in their ear and stuff. Yeah, you got to get in their ear a little bit. You got to look, we're all competitive. I know that we kind of just started this road of amateur racing, and we have a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn, and I am trying to educate them on how this all works, and it's a lot. So I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, as a parent, as riding dirt bikes, it can be nerve-wracking sometimes. Hey, everybody listening, you hear him yapping right now, dude. We're flying home yesterday, and our man from Dunlop's on our flight home, and he told us about this order that you placed for like 20 tires, dude, for mini bikes. Come on. Way. No way. 20 tires, guy. What are you doing? Like putting a new tire on every time? Come on, Rob. Yeah, do what I have to do. Rob told us. He says, dude, this ain't no hobby for him. He just ordered 20 tires. Well, you got to have extras, but thanks to the guys at Dunlop. I'm on the, look, great sponsors. It's tough. It's a tough situation to be in because I'm like, hey, guys, boys. Hey, you waffled on the pipe. I did waffle on the pipe. Santa, he asked Santa. So how am I supposed to not? So we got to keep that Santa tradition alive. Make sure he thinks it's real still. So I mean, what about Oakleys? You got enough Oakleys? You think? Got Oakleys. So that's what I was just going to say. It's I'm trying to build or trying to teach him and show him that hey, yes, we get product from some of these from some of my sponsors, right? And thank you to Fast House, obviously Yamaha, Oakley, and everybody that's involved with our little program. But I'm like, hey, dude, this isn't normal. This isn't average. At your level right now, you typically probably wouldn't have this. So I'm trying to build that into their head and to know that like working hard it's tough. Yes, we are privileged being in our position and being in the position that you worked hard to get that. I did. I worked hard. You deserve it. Your kids deserve it, and you and the wife do a great job. You guys are great parents. It's the same, dude. Like my kids don't race. They're just normal kids, but like, a simple scenario, like kind of paralleling with you, like getting a credential. Yep. It's like they're used to being able to have their own credential. They love that, but they're thankful for it still. They're like, Dad, do you think we'll get a credential this year? I'm like, yeah, we'll get you a credential this year. So just keeping everything in perspective. So it's a lot of fun. We're bred into this, right? I'm third generation. My boys are fourth generation. So we're just racers, and if we do it at a high level, high hobby level, then that's what we do it at. If not, then we'll see where it goes. I love it, dude. All right. Well, we'll see you there. We will be zoomed in. I will let our producer know
And all eyes on you guys.
Lord.
There you go. You get free tire. Get 20 tires. You're gonna get preferred
tires
on TV. You get free pipes. Next thing you know, you get free Renegade van or something like that.
Well, hopefully we get there one day.
I'm with you, dude. Well, thank you guys, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed this podcast today. And we'll see RV at Glendale, and we will see y'all next Monday. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, guys.